Hey, what's going on, guys? In this video I'm going to show you how to create a WordPress widget plugin from scratch, and it's actually going to be something that's pretty useful. It's going to be a YouTube subscribe widget that displays a subscribe button as well as your avatar and the number of subscribers, and we're also going to have some options in the back end to disable the sub count, obviously change the channel name, change the layout, things like that. Now, I'd suggest watching this even if you don't know PHP, because WordPress plugins are basically just a boilerplate, and you have to just edit certain parts of them to change up the functionality and make it your own. Alright, so that's what we're going to do in this video. Let's go ahead and get into it. So if you guys really like my videos and you learn a lot from them and maybe you have a couple extra dollars to spare, check out my Patreon page. I'm working on creating special content for patrons. You also get special deals on future courses, and there's even an email support tier for all YouTube videos and projects. To learn more, visit patreon.com/traversymedia. Alright, so this is the front end of our WordPress website, and this has been untouched. This is the default installation. This is what you'll see if you go and install it right now. Okay, it's using this default template, which just has a big image, and then we have some content down here. Alright, now I'm using XAMPP, which is it gives me an Apache server, PHP, and MySQL all on my local host. That's why you see localhost WP site right here. I do have a video on showing you how to set up XAMPP. I think it's the second video in the PHP front to back series if you want to set that up. And then installing WordPress is really easy. I may create a WordPress for beginners video as well. But what we're going to do is we're going to create our plugin or our widget, and we want it to display over here. So we're going to have the subscribe button with the number of subscribers for our channel and the image, and we're going to have it on the sidebar here. So if we go over to our back end, okay, so this is the WordPress dashboard. We're going to be able to go down to plugins, and we're going to see our plugin here. We'll be able to activate it, and then we'll be able to go to appearance and then widgets, and we'll see it over here, and we can bring it over to wherever we want to put it. In our case, it's going to be the blog sidebar. Okay, so here you can see there's the search widget, recent posts, recent comments. That's what you're seeing right here on the sidebar. Alright, and then we'll be able to have some options. If we click it, we'll have the ability to change the channel name, to change, what else? If we want the subscriber count to show, the layout, things like that. Alright, so it's actually pretty useful. So let's jump into, let's see, we're going to jump into Visual Studio Code, and you can see I have over here the entire WordPress website. It's just called WP site. So if you install WordPress, this is exactly what you'll have. Alright, so we want to go into the WP content and then into plugins. This is where you want to build all your plugins. So we're going to create a new folder here called YouTube Subs. That's going to be the name of our widget. When I say widget and plugin, I mean that interchangeably. A widget is basically just a plugin that you can display on your site somewhere. There are plugins that do other things like SEO and stuff like that, but this is actually a widget. So let's create a new file in here. It's going to have the same name as the folder, so it's going to be YouTubeSubs.php. Okay, and this is basically like the entry point for our plugin. Now, every plugin needs to have a header, and I actually have a couple links open. Let's see, you want to go right here. So this is part of the documentation for building a WordPress plugin. This is codex.wordpress.org/file header. And this right here is an example of a file header. It's basically just a PHP tag and then a comment with some stuff inside of it. Okay, and it looks at this stuff. The system looks at this stuff for your plugin. So what we'll do is just copy that and go back into our file here, our main YouTube subs PHP, and we're going to paste that in. Okay, and then we just want to change some stuff up, like the plugin name. We're going to change to YouTube Subs, and then for the plugin URI, I'm just going to put my website, and description will say display YouTube, I guess YouTube sub button and count. Okay, version, I'm going to do 1.0.0. author, I'm going to put my own name. And this is completely open source. You guys can put your own name if you want. Author URI, I'm going to put the same thing. And I'm going to just get rid of the last two, text domain and domain path. All right, so let's go ahead and save that. And just by doing that, if we go back into our WordPress backend and we go to plugins, there it is, YouTube subs. Okay, display YouTube sub button and count. It has the version, it has the name, and it has a link to your site just by adding that one little comment section. Now, we need to do a couple things in that file. Basically, we're going to mostly require other files in that file, but we don't want it to be accessed locally or directly, I should say. So if right now, if I go to WP site, actually, you know what? Let me go back to that file, and I'm just going to do an echo 123. All right, and if we go back to, you know what? Let me close this stuff up. Oh, did I close the wrong window? I did. Damn it. Hold on, guys. So was it localhost WP site? All right, so if I go to WP site / and then we navigate to this directory, so it was WP-content / oh, it comes up right here, plugins / YouTube subs / YouTube subs.php. You'll see that it'll actually echo out 123, and we do not want that. We don't want anybody to be able to access this file directly. So we need to put something in here. We're going to say exit if accessed directly. And to do that, we're just going to do a simple if statement. We're going to say if not defined abs path, okay, absolute path, then exit. Okay, and then down here, if I go and I say echo 123, and we go ahead and save, and we go back and reload, you'll see that it's not going to show up. It's not going to, basically, it's not going to allow us past that point. All right, so you want to make sure you have that, and that's a big security issue. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we want to create a file for our scripts, because your plugin may have JavaScript files associated with it, CSS files, things like that. So inside YouTube subs, let's create a folder called includes. All right, and this is typically how WordPress plugins are built. You don't want to put all your files right inside the main folder. You basically just want your main file, and then everything else you want to put in includes. So except for your assets like CSS files and things like that. But we're going to say new file, and then we're going to do YouTube subs scripts.php. All right, and then in here what we want to do is let's first put in our PHP tag, and then we're going to, we'll say add scripts, and let's put a function here. Okay, so this function, now all your functions should have a prefix, which should be your domain. You can use anything you want, just make sure you're consistent. So I'm going to use YTS for YouTube subs, and then the function is going to be called add scripts. Oh. All right, so YTS add scripts. And we want to do two things. We want to add main CSS. Okay, we want to have a CSS file, and then we want a JS file, so add main JS. All right, so right here what we want to do is we want to use a function called WP_NQ, so ENQUEUE _style. Okay, and then in here we want to paste in, we'll do YTS main style. Now this NQ style, this is part of the WordPress API. In fact, if we go and we search for it, we'll get a page on it. So basically, NQ, a CSS style sheet, registers the style if source provided. So basically it takes in a bunch of parameters. The first one we just put in is the handle. All right, then we want the source. Okay, so basically the location of the style sheet. So full URL of the style sheet. So let's go ahead and add that. Okay, this is the handle we're using. Now we want to access basically our plugins folder, and there's actually a function we can use as a shortcut to get to that, and that's plugins excuse me, _URL. All right, so that'll bring us to the plugins folder, and then we want to just concatenate /YouTube subs, which is our plugins folder. Actually, this should have quotes. All right, so /YouTube subs, and then we want to go into a CSS folder, which we haven't created yet, but we will, and then we'll call it style.css. I hate this keyboard. All right, style.css. Okay, so it's just going to load up that file for us. Now for the JavaScript, we're basically going to do the same thing. Oh, I'm losing my voice. So we're going to paste this in, except this time we're going to use enqueue script. Okay, and it just signifies that we're using JavaScript instead of a style, instead of CSS. So for the handle, we'll do YTS main script. Same thing, plugins URL, except this time it's going to go to JS, and it's going to go to a file called main.js. All right, so that's the function to create our scripts. Now, right now it's just a function sitting there. We need to actually hook it into WordPress. So we need to use something called a hook, and we use a function called add action for that. The hook we want to use is WP _ NQ. I always have an issue spelling this. ENQUEUE _ scripts. Okay, and then the next parameter is just going to be the name of this function, so YTS _ add scripts. All right, and that should put it right in there. When WordPress hits this hook, it's going to know to load this function and add our scripts. All right, so what we need to do now is include this YouTube sub scripts file into our main file. Okay, so we're going to go down here, and what we're going to do is we're going to use a PHP function called require once. Okay, and all that basically does is it's going to just include one file into another. So we want to access that scripts file. We can actually use a shortcut function to access our plugin directory. So that's going to be plugin _ dir _ path, and then we just want to pass in _ file. Okay, so that's going to access our plugin directory. And then from there, we want to go into the includes folder. So we're just going to concatenate. We're going to use a dot and then some quotes. We're going to say /includes /YouTube subs -scripts.php. Okay, so that's going to include that file. All right, actually, let me put a comment here. We'll say load scripts. Okay, I'll save that. Now, if we go to, actually, first of all, let's create our CSS and JavaScript folders, because what that file that we just created did is going to try to load these files. Now, we're not even going to be writing any CSS or JavaScript, but this is really important because in your plugin that you write, you may need to. So it's good to just do anyways, even if you don't plan on it, just in case, you know, for the future. So in our YouTube subs core folder, not the includes, we're going to create a folder called CSS. Inside there, we're going to create a file called style.css. And then inside, same thing, inside YouTube subs, we'll create a folder called JS. And inside there, we're going to create a file called main.js. All right, and now what we'll do is go to WordPress. We're going to go to the back end, which I need to actually go to. So it's going to be wp-admin. And what I'm going to do is go to plugins, and we have our YouTube subs plugins. Let's go ahead and activate it. And then if we go back to the front end, so visit site, and we do a Control-U, and we'll search for YouTube, you'll see that the style sheet is actually now being included. our plugins, YouTube subs, CSS, style CSS. It's also including the JavaScript file. All right, so really cool. And if we were to just go to, let's say, main.js, to our JavaScript file, and say console.log, and we'll say, we'll just say YTS loaded. And we're not going to be writing any other JavaScript. I'm just doing this just to show you. But if we go back to our front end, and let's go ahead and open up the console with F12 and reload, you'll see we get YTS loaded. Okay, so we know that it's loading our scripts. So now what we want to do is we want to create a class, okay, our main widget class. I'm going to close all this stuff out. And let's see, we're going to go to our includes folder once again and create a new file called YouTube subs-class.php. Now I'm going to open up a documentation page here, which is really important. Let's see, WordPress widget class. I don't know the exact URL. Right here, widgets API. And if we look at this right here, we have a class called myWidget, and it extends something called WP widget. And then there's 4 different functions. There's a constructor, which takes care of naming the widget, things like that. Then we have the widget function, which takes care of the output of the widget, so the front end output, which is going to be right here. All right, and then we also have the form function, which takes care of the form on the back end. So if we go to appearance widgets, and we have we'll have a form like this right here. That takes care of that. And then we have, let's see, we have the update function, which takes care of processing the data. So when we add something in the form, in this backend form, and we save, that update function is what takes care of that. Okay, so the 4 main functions. Now what I'm going to do is copy, not this, but if we go down here, there's an example here. I want to grab all of this. Okay, so it's kind of like a boilerplate for any widget that you're going to create. And then we're going to go to VS Code and we're going to paste that in here. Actually, let's put in a PHP tag first, and then we're going to paste that in. All right. So from here, we have quite a few things to change and to add. Let's go ahead and change. It's not going to be foo widget. It's going to be, let's say, ads YouTube_subs widget. And that's what we're going to call this. We're going to leave the word widget. We're going to say YouTube_subs_widget, and it's going to extend WP widget, which gives us a whole bunch of properties and methods. So for the constructor, let's go ahead and change the base ID. So we're going to change that to YouTube subs_widget. We're going to give it a title. So we'll say YouTube subs. Now the text domain is kind of like an identifier. You want to make sure this is the same throughout your entire class. I'm going to change it to YTS domain. Okay, we'll change it here as well. For the description, let's see, we'll change this. This is the description. We'll just say widget to display YouTube subs. All right, so that's it for the constructor. Now, this right here, this widget function, is responsible for the output. Now you'll see we have this echo args before widget, and then down here we have this echo args after widget. So this just represents anything you want to put before your widget. So if you wanted to put like a div tag with a special class, things like that. In fact, I'll put a comment here. We'll just say whatever you want to display before widget. So like an opening div tag. All right, and then down here we'll say whatever you want to display after the widget, like the closing div tag, because obviously if you have an opening div tag, you need a closing one. So this right here is just about the title. If it's going to check to see if there's a title. If there is one, it's going to display it. It also has this before title and after title. So if you wanted to put an H3, if you wanted to put an H1, it does this to make your widgets very customizable. And then this right here is the actual output. Okay, so this is the widget content output. Now this escape HTML, what this is, it's a special WordPress function that's going to display whatever you put in here, but it's going to escape any HTML. So if we put a paragraph tag in here, it's going to escape it. Now we don't want to use that because we do actually want to display HTML in our widget. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of that escape HTML, and let's just echo out a string for now, and we'll say hello from YTS widget. All right, now we're going to change this obviously, but for now that's what we're going to have. Now down to the form, this is where we want to put all of our inputs for like the channel name, whether we want to display the count or not. And I'm just going to format this a little better. So basically each field will be wrapped in a paragraph. So we'll have a label and an input. And what I'm going to do is put each attribute on a separate line. So that's the for attribute. Let's see. Actually, that only has a for attribute, but let's go like that. All right, so we have a label tag wrapped around this right here. Let's change text domain. Any instance of text domain should now be YTS domain. In fact, what I'm going to do is go to edit, replace, and we're going to replace any text underscore domain with YTS domain. It looks like there's only 2 left, so let's just go ahead and change that. All right, so we have a label for the title, and then we have our input. So for the input, they'll have quite a few attributes, so I'm going to put each one on a separate line. The class of widefat, it's basically just for the WordPress UI for styling. So we have the ID, the name, the type, and the value. All right, so we have our paragraph with the label and the input, and I'm just going to put a comment right here. Yeah, we'll just say title. All right, so we're going to add more fields, but for now we'll just leave title. But one thing I do want to do is for the default title, I don't want it to be new title. I want it to be YouTube subs. All right, and then down for the last function here, update, this just takes care of updating whatever fields you have. We only have a title, so this is fine to leave for now, and it's going to be all your fields will be inside of an array called instance. Okay, so it's basically going to check to see if it's been changed. If it has, it'll change it in the database. So let's go ahead and save this. Now, one more thing we need to do before we can actually display our widget and see it in the back end and the front end is we need to register it. So we're going to go back to our main YouTube subs PHP file, and we need to include that class file just like we did with the scripts. So I'm going to copy that, and let's just say load class, and we're just going to change this to YouTube subs-class.php. Okay, that way it includes that file. Now to register it, okay, we're going to create a function, and we're going to call this register underscore YouTube subs. And then we're just going to call a function called register underscore widget. And then we want to pass in the title of the class, which is, if we go up here, this right here, YouTube subs widget. So we're going to grab that, and we're going to put that right in here inside of quotes. Now we've just defined the function. We now need to hook it in, just like we did with the scripts when we use the add action. We need to do that here. So let's say hook in function. So we want add action, and WordPress has a whole bunch of different hooks you can hook into, and that's all in the documentation. But what we want to do is we want to hook into widgets. It's going to be, whoops, that's not right. widgets underscore init. Okay, and then we just want to put in this function name right here. Okay, and that'll register it and that'll hook it in. So let's save it. Now if we go to our back end and we go to appearance, make sure your plugin is enabled or activated, and then you should be able to go to appearance, widgets, and there it is, YouTube subs. See it right there? And what we can do is bring it over. Let's put it right under the search, and we have a title. Okay, that's the only field we have right now, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and save it, and now let's go to our front end and reload, and there's our widget, YouTube subs. That's the title, and we get hello from YTS widget because that's what we put inside the widget the widget function, which handles the output. All right, so it's as easy as that to get your widget up and running. Now we just need to add special functionality to it, and we need to add our fields. All right, so to add a YouTube subscribe button, I don't know the exact URL. Let's say add YouTube subscribe button. Right here, configure a button. Okay, so this is just, if you want to display this in your HTML, it's as easy as just putting this code in. And you can change these options here, like the channel name. My channel name is actually Tech Guy Web. Okay, and you'll see that it actually changed, 159,000 subscribers. If I change the layout to full, it'll actually display the name and the image. We can also choose to hide the subscriber count. What we want is these to be options in our WordPress backend. Okay, and you can see that these are implemented by attributes. So data channel, we have data count, which is either default or hidden. We have data layout, which is either full or default. So we want to display this HTML in our output. But before we do that, we also need to include this script right here. So we're actually going to add to our scripts file. So let's go to I want to go to our YouTube sub scripts, and let's see, from here inside the add scripts function, let's say add Google script. So for this, we're going to do WP underscore register script, and we're going to give it a handle. We'll call it Google, and then we need the actual script, the actual file. So let's go ahead and just grab this link right here. It's this platform.js. We'll copy that, and we're going to paste that in right here. Now, just doing this isn't going to do it. We actually need to add another WP enqueue script like that, and then we just need to pass in the handle, which is Google. Okay, and that should load this external script. So let's save it, and then that should be all we need to do there. So now we want to go back into our class, and we want to take care of the output and all that stuff. So let's grab, let's see, we'll leave full, we'll leave subscriber count, default. All right, and then I'm going to copy this div. Okay, we're going to grab that div right there and then go back to our class. And remember, the widget function is what takes care of the output. So instead of echoing this out, hello or whatever, we're going to just paste that in. Let me turn on word wrap. Okay, so we paste that in. Now if we save this and we go to our front end and reload, there it is. Okay, now as it is now, if you were to take this widget and install it on your site, you'd always have Traversy media there, and you obviously don't want that. We want to have options to change the channel, to change the options and all that. So that's what we're going to do now. So let's go back to VS Code, and we're going to start off with the form. Okay, we want some more form values aside from just a title. So notice at the top here we have a title variable. It's getting set to whatever the instance is in the database. So we're going to copy this right here, paste in another one. Actually, it should be Okay, make sure it's within the PHP. Wait a minute. This should be up here. And then we just want to... No, that's not what I want either. So the PHP ends right there. Alright, that's what we want. So instead of title, let's change it to channel. Alright, and then we want to change each instance to channel. And let's see, for the default, this is actually the default value. I'm going to put my channel name. You can put your own. That's what's going to show up just, you know, when they first install the plugin. And then down here, we need a form field for the channel. So let's just copy this whole thing, the whole paragraph. All right, we'll change this. And we're going to change all the instances of channel to title to channel. Just like that. And then this variable here. Okay, that variable is coming from this right here. Alright, so that'll actually add the input. If we save that, we go take a look at the back end and we reload the widgets area, you'll see now we have a channel name. Now, if I change this and save, it's not saving. The reason for that is because we need to update the update function. So let's go back to VS Code, go down to update. We're going to copy this right here, this instance title, and we're going to paste that in and change this to channel. Channel and channel. Alright, so let's save that. And now let's go back and we'll go ahead and change this. Let's change it to another great channel, which is Dev Tips for Designers. I think that's it. Save, and now you can see it's still there. If I reload, it's still there. Now, if I go to the front end and reload, it's still Traversy Media because we haven't implemented the actual, the value coming from the database. So we need to go back to our code, go up to the widget function, which is the output, and you can see it's hard-coded Tech Guy Web. All right, so we want to change that. Let's see, we're going to change that by just concatenating in here. We'll put some single quotes and then some periods, and then we can just say instance. Instance, and we want the channel. Alright, so let's save that and let's go back to the front end and reload, and there we go. Now we have dev tips. So it's as simple as that to add a field and have it update and then have it output in the front end. So now we're going to do the same thing for some other options. We want the option to, let's change this back. I really like dev tips, but I don't want to give them too much promotion. There we go. So let's add the option to change the layout, okay? Because we can change the layout here. You see we have default, and then we have, whoops, I'm not going to do dark. We're not going to implement the theme, but we can change it to it's full, and then we have default, which just gets rid of the icon and all that. All right, so let's go back. Go down to our form function, and we're going to copy this. Okay, and this is going to be for the layout. So for the label, we'll just change this to layout. Layout. Now this is actually going to be a select, okay? It's not going to be a input. So let's change this to select. All right, class wide fat still applies. ID, same thing. We're going to just keep it at this get field ID, but we want to change this to layout. Same thing with name. We don't need a type because it's a select. Let's see. We also don't need a value. Excuse me. Yeah, we're going to get rid of this. So that's the opening select. Of course, it needs a closing select. All right, and then we're going to have some options. So let's put in option value. So value will be remember we have default and full. So this will be default, and then we just want to put in a PHP tag here, and we're going to say echo layout. So layout equals default. Okay, we're using a ternary operator here. We're basically saying if layout equals default, then we want to display selected. Okay, else then we want to display nothing. All right, and then we'll end our PHP here, and we'll end the option tag, or the beginning option tag. All right. And then let's see, inside the text for option, we'll just say default. All right. So this here is just saying if it's enabled, if that's what it is, if it's default, then add selected so that it's pre-selected in the form. And then what I'll do is copy this, and we're going to paste that in here, and then we're going to change the value from default to full. Okay, we're going to change it there. We're also going to change it here, and then change the text to full. So let's save it, and let's see if it actually shows up in the form. So we'll go back to our back end and reload, and if we look, now we have a select with default and full. All right, so it's not going to save now if I change it to full. You see it's not going to save yet because we have to do the update function. So we'll go down to update, we'll copy one of these, paste it in. We'll change this to layout, and layout. Okay, so now that's going to make it save, and then we want to implement it up in our output. Okay, so right now we have, where is it? Right here. So we have data layout equals full. It's hard coded. What we want to do is just get rid of that and concatenate instance. We want to do instance and then layout. Okay, so let's save it and let's go back. Let's check the front end. It should be, yep, so it's default by default. But if we go and we change it to full and we save, wait a minute, say full and save. Okay, so it's not saving for some reason. Let me see what I do wrong here. So if we go down to update, let's see, instance layout, new instance layout. So that should be saving. Did I not save this file? Something up here maybe. Let's try it again. So full save. Yeah, it's not saving. Is this stuff saving? Tech Guy 1, Tech Guy Web 1, that saves. I'm not sure why this is happening. So we got a layout here. Oh, you know what? We didn't add it up here as a variable. That's what it is. So let's go ahead. Whoops. It should be within the PHP tag. Alright, so we need to add this layout. And let's see, for the default here, we'll just leave it at default, I guess. Yeah, like that. Alright, so let's try it again. Hopefully it works. It should if we reload. And we go ahead and change it to full and save. There we go. And now if we go to our front end and reload, nothing. So it is saving here. It's saving to full. We must have something wrong. Let's go back up here to the output. I spelled instance wrong. All right. So now it should have a full layout now. There we go. All right, we'll change it back to default just to make sure, and reload. There we go. Good. So the last thing we want is the option to not show the subscriber count if we don't want to. So let's do that. Let's go back to our form function here, and just so I don't forget, let's do this first. So this will be for count. And you guys can see that even if you don't know PHP, this is kind of just a boilerplate that you can edit to your liking, and you don't really have to understand every single line of code. Let's see, so count, we're going to leave it at default because there's two options, there's default and there's hidden. Okay, now let's add the form field, which is also going to be a select, so I'm going to copy everything we did for layout, paste that in, this will be count. Change all these to count. That. So we do have a default option, that's fine. This one, however, full is going to be hidden. Okay, we'll change that to hidden. And then finally, let's go down here to update, and we'll just copy one of these. Okay, we'll change that to count, count, and count. All right, and then for the output, so up at the top here, where we have data count equals default, I'll just grab this. So it'll be instance count. All right, let's save. Let's go to our backend and reload. And then we should have a count option, which is set to default. And if we look at the front end, you'll see it shows the count. But if we change it to hidden and save, which it didn't save. Did I do the same crap? Instance count. Let's see. Why did that not save? Ay. Sorry, guys. All right, got it. So in our field here, the count field, I have it set to layout equals default. This should be count. Okay, that should be count, and so should this. It was looking at the wrong variable. All right. So let's try it. Okay, so it's changed to hidden. Now let's go to the front end and reload, and now the subscribe count is hidden. All right, so now we have a customizable widget. Let's change the layout to full and save. Reload. So now we have a full layout, but the subscribe count's hidden. If we change that to default from hidden, there we go. So now we can see the subscribers. So that's it, guys. We have created a widget, and it's pretty useful. You guys can use this in your WordPress websites if you want. If I wasn't changing my site from WordPress, I would use it. But I'm going to be changing my whole website. I'm not happy with it. Not happy with using WordPress. But yeah, so that's how you can build a plugin or widget or both. So thanks for watching, guys. Please hit that like button if you liked it. Please subscribe, and I will see you next time.